Hello, everyone, and welcome to A More Perfect Podcast. I am your host, Mike Winson. Today is a day that I have been looking forward to for weeks. For weeks, we're going to sit down and talk with one of my good friends from Twitch. Her name is Jessie. Hello, Jessie. How are you doing?
Hello, good. It's weird calling you Mike because I usually call you Nat.
That's true. That's true. I think how weird it was when... Yeah, I've been Nat for a long time. And when I decided to start this podcast and it's really weird going by my actual name. Like, it took a long time for me even to get used to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, you get two names. Mine's just the same across everything.
That's fine. Yeah. Jessie is a streamer on Twitch. And that's how I met Jessie, because we're both streamers on Twitch. And she is just an amazing person. And I think one of the reasons that I've loved your lives so much is I think we have the same mentality when it comes to how we run our lives and just what we put out to the community, as well as the kind of community that we're trying to build, both of us. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring you here. One of the things that started in the pandemic, especially, it kind of existed before, but it became a huge thing from the pandemic, was online communities, but also the disappearing of third spaces, which kind of helped online communities. So I kind of want to sit down. I wanted to sit here and just talk with you, learn a little bit about you, let people hear about your community and what your mindset is and why you think online community is important, but just talk about, online communities in general.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I feel so flattered. And likewise, I love your channel and when you go live too. So I do feel aligned with that. I think I'll start with, I started streaming in 2021 with a total, idea of this is just my hobby and it's something that I really, really wanted to do. And my fiance helped me set it up. And I was like, he's a little more strategic and he's like, so what smaller games can we kind of stream to start the momentum and, connect with people on a smaller level, because I don't know if, other people have been streamed, but if you start with a big game like League of Legends or something, you kind of can get lost in the hullabaloo. Yeah. And my whole intention behind streaming was obviously to talk to people, interact with the community. So it started as a hobby. And then I kind of accidentally started creating this community of people that, just enjoyed games together. And how I actually started was only playing community games on Age of Empires. Like, I only did that for probably about 5 or 6 months, where I didn't even play, ladder. I didn't do any laddering games. I literally just played with community. So that's kind of how it started. It's the core of my channel, has always been that. And obviously now it's changed, and as you grow as a creator, a content creator, streamer, you change games, you learn what you like, but that's kind of the core essence of how the Jessieology channel kind of started.
Yeah. So just in case, for anyone listening that happens to not know about Twitch is a streaming platform owned by Amazon. It was really designed around gaming, although it has expanded a little. It's still focused mainly as gaming. So while you will hear Jessie and I talking about gaming a lot, don't get bored. The whole purpose, if you're not a gamer, that's okay. You can still learn from this, because I think there's something about the online community idea in society today that really is going to speak to all of us. And don't worry, the dogs are okay. We love the dogs. Jessie is very conscious about the dogs barking, and it's okay. It really is. We never mind it as much as you do.
I know. It's louder for me, and I want to let them enjoy the patio. They just get excited for the squirrels and all that stuff.
Hey, squirrels are exciting things. When I started on Twitch, because Twitch is where I first started streaming, 2018, 2017. Somewhere around there. It was just one of those things where I played World of Warcraft. I was like, you know what? I was already watching Twitch. I'm like, I might as well stream. Maybe it'll be fun. And it just turned into something so absolutely amazing. Not only because, I didn't understand what it meant to build a community. I didn't understand what it meant to build a community online. Online stuff wasn't, just the idea of streaming started growing really around that 2018, 2019 era, and then became obviously huge after COVID. But, people like Ninja and stuff like that were the ones that really started the idea of streaming becoming big, but community didn't exist. It was literally a show at that point. Like, you didn't watch Ninja to become of a part of an online community. You watched to see him, you know, headshot someone in Fortnite and then watch him dance after. Like, it was total entertainment. And it is literally 360'd the second you got to right around that 2019, 2020 COVID era. And I feel like there's a lot of animosity in society towards online communities.
Yeah.
There's this idea of you and I, every time we go live, we're sitting in the house. We're not going out. We're not seeing. This is as other than our families, this could be as face-to-face as we get with another human being if we decide not to go out and we're working. What have you seen as positives in your community to this online community? And what kind of negatives even are you seeing in it?
Yeah. You made so many good points with that. And I you know, what's funny is that we're talking about gaming, but also I'd like to add on that kind of one of the most popular categories on Twitch is just chatting.
That's true.
So it's just actually people chatting and interacting with the community. But like everything that has a positive side, there's always going to be a negative balance side. So I think with us as streamers, as entertainers, you are, and like you mentioned Ninja, and like people are just watching this show, you kind of are walking this fine line between kind of facilitating a community, but also being an entertainer.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a dance and a little bit of a balance, especially when, you know, you're incorporating video games as well. So there's this element of like, here is the function. This is me playing the video game. And then here is me entertaining you, but also me responding to you as a human being. And I've always gone into Twitch with the thought of, you know, those names on the side on chat, there is a person behind that. And I think a lot of times, you know, the negative side is people get lost in that. And they think like, oh, people talk about this all the time, you know, the shield of the screen.
The anonymity.
Yeah, the anonymity. And I honestly don't know probably about 90% of my community's actual names. Like for you, for instance, I think you're not in my mind. I know what your name is. So there is that anonymity, but then because you are live and you can go live on different platforms, but I think Twitch has always been a live platform. So it's kind of created its core on like interacting with the audience. But because it is always a live stream platform, I think what's nice about it is that people are wanting to interact with you most of the time. So that's why when you go on Twitch, there's channel points, there's all these like different ways of interacting with your streamer that I think is more of a positive than maybe if you were on, you know, other platforms, which now have adopted those things. Cause I know you can like add emotes and other things to like TikTok and etc.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it's really been interesting to see the different live platforms build off of what Twitch did. You know, you have just gone full time as a streamer. I went full time in the start of COVID. I wanted to go before, but COVID, I got laid off, kind of like what your situation is. I got laid off because of COVID this time. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to find a new job. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm going to start going. I'm going to start full-time streaming. Obviously, COVID, the online community became much more of a necessary thing in COVID because you had the people in your house and you had nowhere else. I know California did their COVID restrictions a little bit different, where you could actually have like another household that you could interact with, but that was it, or things like that. Around here, it was like, you just can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. Since COVID, we've also lost third spaces. For those of you that don't know what third spaces are things like parks and just places where community centers, places where people used to gather, and a lot, especially in the younger generations, the online is the community. Have you noticed just in your own life that switching more to an online community has affected you at all? Like, do you notice it? Do you feel, because there are definitely days where I'm like, I love when I get a chance to talk and game with you or any of my other online friends, but it's like there are days where I'm just like, I wish I had a neighbor that I knew that I could just hang out and talk to.
Yeah, I think it's a balance thing. I think for me, it's also a personality thing. And I've noticed I used to consider myself such an extroverted person. I went to art school. So art school is a little bit different than a typical university because you're always with your peers in studio. Like you are constantly around people working alongside them, which is a lot different than necessarily like if you're in university just sitting in lecture, you kind of leave those hundreds of students. It's more like our classes of 60. So I'm used to like kind of like these intimate spaces where I really get to have a deep connection with somebody. And after COVID, I definitely, like, to be honest, I haven't made a lot of close friends since probably like 2018. I've probably made like one or two, which is kind of, you know, I know that happens as you get older, but also I think there is this loss, like you're saying, of these third spaces. But I also think, you know, it's funny as I do think also Twitch and the internet and like creating these online communities almost is kind of like this waiting point because it started to reopen up third spaces, which is kind of funny because I've seen streamers and content creators like host retreats where they get together and go hiking. I, for example, I'm in, you know, I'm not just on Twitch. I also am in like a writing and reading online forum community, and I went on a reading retreat. So in some ways, I do feel like we're missing like the third spaces that we're technically quote unquote used to, like the parks, the bars, you know, meeting up people. But now I'm also like, I think people are craving that in-person connection, but because we're so reliant on our online communities, we almost need them in a way, or I've needed it personally to get me into that face.
Do you think it could have made our in-person interactions more intentional?
Yeah, like starting with being friends online first and then interacting, or
yeah, but also like, so, you know, how did you and I become friends? Well, we became friends through TFT. For those of you that don't know, TFT is a online auto chess kind of a game. It's for those of you that know League of Legends, it has to do with that. But it's one of those things where like you and I may never have met. Even if we met face to face, who knows if we would have become friends because we didn't, you know, you're an art. I am not an artist. I'm going to tell you right now, not even a little bit. I can sing, I can play guitar. That's the closest to art I can do, the music art. My daughter, amazing artist. She would blow your mind. That's not me. But this game, this one game, and this community that you built made it to a point where if you were ever in Charlotte or I was ever in LA, you are one of the first people that I would want to hang out with because I consider you a friend now. And that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for an online community that existed.
Yeah, I agree. I think it does make it intentional. And in some ways, it's like, I know you are interested in something that I'm interested in, and we have this like point of contact. And I think for me, like my interests happen to be kind of like nerdier and more niche. And so sometimes when I go into these social situations, like in LA or something, I don't find people very easily who have those interests. So sometimes actually these communities that we're building online are almost like a filter. And not to say that I don't want to connect with other people who have different interests, because I do think a lot of times we can fall into, you know, just going to an echo chamber where everybody likes the same thing. And I do like diversity and things like that. But I do think in some cases, it's kind of like a window to meeting somebody that I would never meet. And likewise, like I would be like, hey, I'm in the area if I'm ever on the East Coast again. But I do agree with that it is somewhat of a filter and somewhat of a window and somewhat more intentional because you kind of join these communities with a common interest. Whereas normally, like I wouldn't go into a bar or a park looking for somebody to be my friend or looking for somebody to talk to.
You don't go to parks just randomly walking up to people?
Not in LA. Not in LA.
I never did that anywhere. That was always weird to me.
Yeah.
And in the end, and that's always been the crazy thing to me, right? It's not new. I mean, when we were growing up, I can't speak for you, but I mean, I played baseball, I played basketball, I played soccer, I played lacrosse, I was in theater, I played an instrument. You want to know where most of my friends came from? Those extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
It's not like I just went to a park and randomly said, hey, you want to be my friend? There's always been an interest. I think problem right now is the interest doesn't get you exercise, and it doesn't get, because there is the difficulty with online communities as a whole and I mean, I've experienced it. I had people that I thought were really close friends. The hardest part with making friends online, like we're talking about the cons now. One of the hardest part about making friends online is it's really easy to cut to possibly misconstrue what someone was saying and just end up cutting. Like I've lost people that I thought were really good friends that I would talk to on a daily basis. They knew my family, they knew all of it. I said one thing, they thought I meant something that I didn't mean, and they just cut me off, and I haven't talked to them since. And it's hard.
Yeah, it is really hard because that person is like, you don't see them in person. So then you can almost just erase their existence in a way. And I think for us, it's different because we're both streamers, and I find it easier. Like I love my community and everything, but I find it easier to connect with other streamers because I also see their face, which is, I am in my head, like looking at my chat as thinking of them as people, but still there's that innate human eye contact connection. And you can just the way our brains are wired. It's just how we're made. So I understand what you're saying with losing people that you do feel close to, since then you kind of get into the realm of the parasocial relationships. It's kind of, the idea of your relationship with somebody, and it only exists when you power on that electronic.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist in the real world for some people.
Well, and it makes you could argue that it also makes it somewhat more difficult at times. Do you think people have not learned how to deal with conflict because of it too? Like online, when conflict happens, what's the worst? Someone comes into our chat and says something absolutely wretched. They're not looking us in the eye. We're not looking them in the eye. What we as streamers can just do is say, okay, it's time to ban. I'm not going to talk to them anymore. Well, it's harder to do if they're face to face.
Yeah.
So has it also, like, these are the things that I'm like constantly thinking about. It's like the best and the worst things is like, if you become a streamer, you realize that people that will hang out with you every single day you are live for a year could all of a sudden be gone, and you will never see them again.
Yeah.
And it could have been something you said, could have been something that they perceived, it could have been none of it at all, and you'll never know. And it's so easy for us to just, snap off and on when everything is online, when you have a picture instead of a face, when you've got a screen instead of the person right in front of you.
Yeah. It's, I guess, almost dehumanizing a piece of that relationship that you have with these people. And I think in the beginning when I did start streaming, because you do have to get used to being online, like an online figure. And I personally have made some mistakes as having boundaries.
I've never made any mistakes, Jessie.
You make so many mistakes.
Someday
as a live
you
streamer.
and I will have a conversation not online about some of the mistakes I've made. Whew.
Yeah, I've definitely made a lot of mistakes. And I think for me personally, I grew really, really quickly when I first started streaming. And and I wasn't even streaming during COVID. Well, it was like towards the end. It was like
Yeah.
2021. And that was also something I had to cope with because it was touching on my ego totally.
100%.
And I, you're getting dopamine and all this stuff. And I, as somebody who has ADHD, was like, whoa, like eating this up and being so excited. I hadn't had a success like that since I was, in art school.
Yeah.
And so, especially with a creative, like streaming is creative. And so it was really easy to fall into like all of these ideas and I'm seeing people as people. And then you realize, oh, wait, I probably should have a lot more boundaries, especially as somebody on the internet. There's crazy people out there. I just was very innocent and naive going into it. And like you said, there can be people that you talk to all the time and then suddenly just drop off. And I feel so blessed and lucky to have like so many of my first subscribers still hanging around and still chatting with me. And I think what also helped develop that part of the community is when I wasn't online live, the good parts of it. Obviously, there was probably people I shouldn't have been talking to, but the good people I was talking to, we talked offline playing games together. Obviously, you probably shouldn't be chatting online with people all the time, but there was like that whole side of it too. And you just put yourself in a very vulnerable position being a live streamer on any platform.
For sure. I mean, I went through that too. So I'd been streaming for about 2 years, maybe more, 3 years before I found Twitch Sings, which is what I became a full-time streamer on. And I grew like a rocket. Like I was on the front page of the app. People knew me. Like I want to explain how bad it was. I would go into people's streams who did duets with me to thank them for doing duets with me. It hit a point where people would see my name and have panic attacks, like you saw when the Beatles were singing or Timberlake or all the other crazy, like I had never experienced something like that before in my life. And then Twitch Sings went away. And then everything that I had built went away. And the people that said that they would be there forever, that they were there for me, not for what I was doing, went away. And a lot of bad things happened after that. And that was the moment that I realized that there were people that I thought that I was spending 10 hours a day, 5 days a week with. And I thought I knew. And then I realized that there was a whole part of them that I didn't even know. And it caused me to shut down completely. Like the fact that I am streaming on Twitch again at all is amazing.
Yeah. It's painful, like, to be honest, because in some ways, like I said, you become vulnerable in a way. So I'm glad you came back, because I would not be having this conversation with you if you hadn't come back. And I think that's why.
So don't hurt me, Jessie.
I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to try not to. I am human. So, you become so vulnerable opening yourself up in that way. And I think now with all these different platforms, it is really easy to go viral. Yeah. And there's not this like slow growth where you're really kind of digging in and really understanding what you're doing. You're kind of just like along for the ride, and it's not even you per se. It's just like you're hanging on, and all of a sudden what happens when your rocket actually launches and then you're just floating? Are you going to fall? Are you going to end up in space? Where do you end up? Yep. And I'm kind of in the same boat as you, where I had to almost, I obviously did not have exactly the same experience, but I was only playing Age of Empires 4, and I essentially like burnt myself totally out by playing this game, and also was struggling a lot with not feeling like totally part of the community, even though I like loved the game. I just didn't, it's funny because we're talking about community. I just didn't feel like the same. And I love, like, obviously have a lot of connections like through that game, but in general, I didn't fit the same vibe as like the other streamers in this very niche game. And so I felt very isolated, even though I was having so much success with the viewers. And then I also had to cope with the fact, like, am I getting views because I'm a pretty woman?
Yeah.
Which was also hard because, like I said, it was feeding my ego. And I really had to take a step back and be like, why am I doing this? Like, why? Like, come back to my why.
Yeah.
Because when I did start it, it was like, I just want to play games with a community and like try out this hobby and do a really good job being a part of Twitch and creating this kind of little corner of the world online. And somehow it worked and then became its own thing. So I'm at the point now where I've come back all the way around and I'm like, okay, how do I grow this from the ground up again? Slowly, because I have had to tell myself or my soul or whatever to like slow down, because sometimes you get caught up in there's not enough time, there's not enough time, there's not enough time.
For sure.
But if you think that way, you're just gonna self-fulfill that prophecy that there's not enough time. So you got to tell yourself there's enough time. How can I do this in a sustainable way where I'm creating a sustainable community instead of like this?
Well, and at least on the streamer side, I think one of the things that I had to realize was, if you make the community correct, it shouldn't only be about you. It shouldn't be centered around you. It's centered around you or me because we're willing to put our face out there. We're obviously the thing that binds, but we can't be the thing that continues, because if it's only centered around you or me, we're going to fail.
Right. Yeah.
So, as you know, I'm sure you've heard it from people. There's a stigma around people that do content creation for a living. What I've always struggled with, when I decided that I wanted to become a content creator, the reason that I wanted to become it, the reason that I love doing it, is it's not because I can sit around and play video games. Playing video games is that signing bonus you get, that positive you get that they give you for walking in, for deciding to come and work for the company. It's, for me especially, the thing that I always love about what I do, whether it's when I do political stuff on here or whether I was doing singing or gaming, was when people would come in and would say, my life has been a wreck, and I can walk in here and for 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, however long they stick around, I can laugh, I can smile, I can think that the world is not going to end because there's some sanity left in it. And obviously the sanity side comes on the political side, but even the gaming, I mean, I guarantee you experienced it because I've been in your chat when people have talked about it. Sometimes people are going through a hard time, and there's a peace that comes from someone from getting on. I mean, when my day is hard, and again, I'm not trying to lift you up, but anyone who likes watching streams should go watch Jessie, because one of the best things about you that I love about coming on is everyone that says hi, you just are absolutely so happy to see everyone. And even when the day is hard for you, you are still happy to see people. And I can tell you that for someone, when I'm having a bad day, that means the world.
Yeah. Thank you. That makes me feel great, because I genuinely, one thing I have worked on, especially since, starting streaming full time, is trying to stay as authentic as I can to who I am in this online space. And I have always wanted to be the happy corner that but gives people a chance to see their own value and see how worthy they are to enjoy a little piece of the world. And if that's like they're only able to come on for 30 minutes or an hour and they just say hi, like I want to respond to that because it means so much that they're there.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole purpose of me being there is for them. So in some ways, like when somebody says hi, like I genuinely am happy and I do my absolute best. I get distracted so easily. So that's why I always tell my chat, I'm like, if I missed your message, please send it again.
Yeah.
You know, I always do try to say like hi back and I always shout out my lurkers. And if you don't know what lurking means, it just means you're watching and not chatting. And I shout them out because it means the world to me that they're there too. And if they don't want to say anything, that's fine.
Yeah. But so going back to the people that think that content creation isn't a real job.
Yeah.
How would you, how do you, if someone came up to you and said, get a real job, which I can tell you, I get.
I'm sure.
Every day.
Yeah.
Also get out of your mom's basement. I get that a lot too.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm not in my mom's basement. Just saying. How would you explain what we do to someone who doesn't see what we do as a job?
Yeah. So I was in my mom's basement for a short period of times. It's funny that you say that, but And
by the way, in this economy, no guilt to anybody in their mom's basement.
No.
None.
I do not judge
anyone, be where you need to be able to survive. And if that's in your mom's basement, more power to you.
Yeah, their mortgage is probably great. So stay there.
Mortgage is way smaller than anyone else's is going to be these days.
Yeah, I think when people do say that, it's hard because it feels almost like they just don't understand in some ways because it is so new. So I think sometimes I have a lot of grace and compassion for those people who say that, because what I've learned is that when people say something to you, it's a part of their story is coming out in the comments that they're making. So I'm like, okay, but in their own curiosity, if they're asking like, how does that work? Why are you doing this? Like, what's the why? And I think, first of all, content creation is so flexible. For those of you who like to do like all different things, it is kind of like this great window to be a creative. And, you're saying you're not an artist, but obviously you do music on there. Like you talk about things that you care about. You meet with other people. It's a very diverse career. So that's kind of why I personally chose it. But then also going back to the whole community building thing, it's like, I think if you tell people like your purpose and your why behind it, they understand a little bit more. And so I'm almost creating this online vessel, trying to keep myself as like a facilitator for this community so people can feel like they are, one, a part of something so they don't feel as alone, but also two, like know that I can try to create my channel to be like a little happy escape. Yeah. Like we were saying with a bad day. I can try to make something funny on Instagram so that they have that like 30 seconds of reprieve, And obviously it's not good to live in the distraction, but we do need things as humans to enjoy.
Sure. And it's hard. As someone who does political stuff, that was one of the hardest things for me to wrap my head around. Because when I was on Twitch originally, I had the whole, we don't talk politics on here. We are a safe space, right? Which I still want to be a safe space, but that's been the part that's hard for me. I've seen people on Twitch talk about how they don't think politics should have any place on Twitch.
Yeah,
but the reason I struggle with that is there are some people that don't get that luxury. That is arguably a very privileged position for any of us to have, to say, we want to sit in our room with our 2 to 5 monitors and just enjoy playing our games and not worry about the life around us for the people that potentially can or can't escape what's going on in the world. How do you, and obviously we don't need to go into specifics on politics, but just in general, how do you balance that perspective? Because obviously, while you and I don't talk politics, we can't escape it. We still see it.
No. Yeah. Like, I don't even have on my channel like rules, like no politics. I don't have that, but just people come in and assume that they can't talk about that because that's kind of the vibe of Twitch at this point, is like, you can't talk about that. But like you said, it comes from a place of privilege and of safety that we can just not talk about it, but we're living it. And, you know, I read a lot of like fantasy books and all that stuff. And actually, like, somebody had said on one of their socials was like, I talk about politics even though I'm a book talker, because, you know, they were talking about how every single book that we read, like in terms of like fantasy realms, like has politics in it, you know, how somebody rules, or like how they take down this or whatever. So I think it's hard to balance because we're living it. And obviously on Twitch, it's all around the world. So I'm talking to people, like I have people who, you know, have had to leave their home because it's not safe. I've had people share some really tough things. And in some ways, I also want to be able to use, you know, privilege has become like kind of a taboo word. And I've had to almost like tell myself, like, I do have privilege and own it, because like in some ways I can take that and be like, okay, so let me make this a space about being silly, enjoying games, because maybe this is the only hour you have where your power's on, or this is the only time that you can get in a game, or whatnot. So in some ways I feel like, you know, people have different opinions, but in some ways I'm like, I want to own that part, because I feel like if I was on the other end of something and I saw somebody with this opportunity and they weren't taking it and like using it for something good, in a way I would feel very disheartened in some way. Because like I would be like, you know, obviously people have different privilege levels. And you know, it's funny, this is like kind of off topic, but like there's been, you know, like Nepo baby, trust fund baby, whatever. I have this attitude where I'm just like, good for them. Like, because I'm like, I hope, like, if I was a trust fund baby, like I would just be making art all the time. Like I would literally, and I hope that because they were probably just born into it, I hope that they take that and make something great out of it. Because unfortunately, life isn't fair. And we all just end up with a deck of cards when we're born, and you kind of have to take it. And that's like my attitude towards it. And I know people have totally differing attitudes, and I try to be as empathetic and as open as possible. So with balancing that, and like what you're saying with these different conversations, and also being aware that everyone in my chat is from all around the world, it's like, how can I can't create a perfect safe space, because only you as an individual can say like, I feel safe, but I can do my very best with the amazing resources that I have where I live to make it a space that holds joy, that holds funny stuff, that allows people to feel safe to say what they want to say.
And just in case anyone listening or watching is wondering, what qualifies as funny in Jessie's stream is watching her take on a giant sunflower for about 4 hours. And then find out that there's a really simple way to defeat the sunflower and one-shot it right after. I mean, if it makes you feel better to roast somebody, I'm here to be roasted, to be honest. I can take it. So to be fair, I do it because as a streamer myself, I know what people find enjoyable. So I almost consider it my job as a streamer myself to go on, and assuming I know them well enough for them to be able to handle it. Like, I didn't do it right away when I came onto yours, but it didn't take long for me to watch you to know what kind of a stream it was and give you a hard time on things, because that would be funny.
I'm a perpetually casual player, so people can always roast me. I don't care.
So I do want to just go back quick. I want to make sure that I put this out there, that I don't blame anybody for wanting, especially in this current political environment, to do their best to find that moment of peace in the chaos that we are ensuing, or that is going on right now.
Yeah.
Every person in this country has skills. You have a skill of making people smile. It's one of the reasons, again, I like watching you, because you are really good at that. I'm stubborn enough that I'm willing to get out there and just say, this is wrong, and we need to talk about it. Not everyone has that capability. Everyone has that skill set. Not everyone is in a situation that makes it possible. That's again, I think, something that this online space, while it has opened the door, I mean, no one can argue that the internet has opened our eyes to a world that 30 years ago was just not even close to be able, like, we couldn't. That's not the most that you got was whatever you saw on the news or read in the newspaper. Like, the idea of knowing what's going on the other side of the planet as it's happening is just crazy. So it makes those times of peace more important. I think the key for all of us, and again, I'm not telling you how to do anything, but I encourage you, just like I would encourage anybody, it is important to have times where we're laughing, where we're smiling, as long as we aren't putting our heads in the sand and pretending that what's happening isn't happening. Because there will be a time, who knows when, where you might get called upon to say, this isn't okay.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that really need more people to say it's not okay.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I think that's also where I've seen people call out streamers or content creators, putting a lot of pressure on them to say something. But I also want to say, like, most people don't know what I do, like, outside of stream. And so I think that's, for me, I feel like it's unfair sometimes when people get so upset that someone's not saying, because you don't know what they do with their time, or what their passion is, or where they put all of that stuff. So you have to, there's this like line. And I think that's why it's so cool that you as a creator have used your platform to talk about these things and say, like, that's not right, because we need people like you. And that's what I love what you do. And then on the flip side, there's me, where I personally didn't say, like, nobody can talk about anything, but I, just like, people came in and my vibe was like, we're just going to have fun. You can roast me, like, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And I like that diversity and that, that balance. We need that balance between
and again, that is one of those things, right? We don't know what you do. I get people all the time when I go live. I will get people that go, why aren't you at work? I'm like, it's 9:30 in the morning. There's 24 hours in a day. Am I supposed to wake up and just walk and just be working nonstop? Do you work 24 hours a day? Last I checked, none of us do. So, I mean, that is something. And I definitely appreciate that statement. That I think that's something we all need to. I think it's hard for people that are the more empathetic you are, I think the harder it is to handle it. And, it's a crazy world we live in, Jessie.
It is. It is. It's making the world that we live in is so much closer than it's ever been. But doing that has created a lot of, I don't even know a better word for it, but like energy, almost just like bringing everything together.
Yeah. A lot of tension.
Yeah. A lot of tension that, like you said, didn't exist 30 years ago. It was a lot slower, the pace. And I think that's why I think homesteading is trending online, which is like ironic to say, but I see a lot.
Not that anyone can afford land anymore, but
I know. That's why you see like chickens in a like 4x4 backyard in Los Angeles.
Yeah. just want to make sure I put it out there. You are you're about to get married, which is amazing and awesome. How excited are you for that?
I am so excited. Thank you. Yeah, we just kind of are tying the loose ends up, and it's about, I don't know, like 6 weeks out or something from
Are you doing
the
a
actual
big
day.
wedding?
We're doing a smaller wedding. Well, I'm putting quotes around smaller.
How many people are going to be there?
About 100.
Yeah, that's a small wedding.
Yeah.
In today's terms, that's probably a small wedding.
Right.
I'd say that's probably an average size wedding.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, COVID brought around the trend of eloping and micro weddings. Yeah. So now I think people are trying to lean more into like the smaller thing, but then also you have the opposite end where people are like, there's no more restrictions, let's invite everybody. So
are you going for like fancy, or is it
it's fancy?
I know fancy is a relative term.
Yeah, it's black tie optional.
Okay.
So you can wear a tux if you want, or a dark suit. It's, in this beautiful Gilded Age mansion, and it's quote unquote fancy, but I'm such a like laid back person that I think the vibe is more like intimate dinner party where everyone gets to dress up and, enjoy dinner together.
Are you a crier?
I try not to be.
I'm a crier. So at our wedding, both of our parents either were or are ministers. Yeah. So my dad did like the opening stuff, and then my wife's dad did the actual like marriage part. When my wife came out to walk down the aisle, both my dad and I started bawling. And I brought no tissues, and my dad brought one because I definitely got my bawling from my dad. And he gave the tissue to me, and then he's like, I don't have one now. So that's why I asked.
I will be bringing some tissues. We're writing our own vows, so I'm sure there'll be some at least like watery eyes.
There'll be a drip here or there.
Yes, for sure.
Is there which theme are you going for?
We're going very like romantic, ethereal. It's all like dark greens and golds and like very like rich,
nice,
earthy.
Yeah, vibe. I mean, it's the right time of year too for it.
Yeah, it is. It's like October, so it'll be kind of transition into fall, and it's actually nice that I haven't been, at a 9 to 5, because I can actually respond to the vendors and things like that, because I don't know how these other brides do it while they're working full time, they
hire somebody to do it all.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we did our wedding was New Year's Eve.
Oh, so did you go all the way to like 1-2 a.m. then? Were you guys waiting for
No, so we were in the spend as little money as possible but make it nice kind of a thing. So we did our wedding in like the afternoon, like the early afternoon, and the reception was like the pre-New Year's Eve time slot. So we had to be out, and literally while we were leaving, they were bringing in literally hundreds of champagne bottles, because everyone in the wedding after ours was getting their own champagne bottle.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to be in the spend as little money as possible bucket, but it's like impossible at this point.
Oh,
but
yeah.
No one
I can't
will be
imagine
getting
doing one now.
No, I wish I was born like 10 years early sometimes. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I can't argue that. I feel absolutely horrible for everybody younger than me that may, and unless, no matter what, either things are going to hurt to get to a point where everyone can afford a house in the current system, or the system is going to change so dramatically that it's going to hurt until it gets to the point where everyone is at the level that it needs to be. Like, pain feels like it's unavoidable to some extent.
Yeah, it's all painful. I am happy for my parents that they're like set,
Yeah.
but I can't help but be like a
Little
little
jealous.
jealous. But then I'm also like, I wouldn't have this. Like, I wouldn't be talking to you if I
Yeah.
was born, I guess, during their era. Or,
Well, if you were born 10
I,
years earlier, you'd be right around my age.
yeah, I would. I'd be born in the 80s. So I can't help but be also accepting that like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like my personality, who I am, is meant to be in this era for a reason. And that's the attitude that I have kind of when I meet people, is that they're all supposed to be here right now, because like that's what, I don't know, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, wanted at that time, or even ourselves chose, whatever you believe. So I am grateful that I get to be in this time, even though it would be a lot more affordable 20 years ago, but I wouldn't have Twitch and I wouldn't have the video games that I have now. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's really, it's a weird dichotomy for sure. But I mean, the same, like I got lucky that the time we were looking for houses was right after the 2008 housing crash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We would be in horrible shape if it weren't for that. We got really lucky and we know it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my parents were really lucky too. We moved to States like 2007.
Oh man.
And so it was like at the edge of everything. So they got really, really lucky. And I to be honest, I'd rather have them be set than myself.
You still got years. You'll be set. You're going to become ninja level streamer.
Thank you. I'm trying to, going kind of back to what you were saying about, being an entertainer. I forgot which streamer it was, but they were talking about, they always post on YouTube like 10 tips to become a streamer or whatever. And I don't remember who it was. I wish I did, but they were talking about how they missed when they only had like 30 to 50 to 100 people in their chat, because now if you are a big streamer, you can't read people what they're saying. You could slow it down, but it's just so many.
You're still lucky if you know a quarter, a tenth of the people. Yeah.
At that point, it's just your mods.
When I was at my peak and I was getting 100 or more people on a regular basis, like chat was flying. Flying. When I live streamed on TikTok during the 2024 election, I had 6,000 people in my live. I stopped looking at the chat. I brought people up and we talked. I didn't even look at it anymore because it wasn't possible.
Yeah. It's literally impossible. And if you think about, I have to do this occasionally because it's really easy to get caught up in the numbers and like, am I growing? Am I doing the right thing? All this stuff. But if I just visualize the people that are in my chat, like as human bodies, like that fills a room. That fills 2 rooms, sometimes 3. How does it look in a stadium? I have to remind myself that. And that's where I'm trying to like rehumanize instead of dehumanizing the numbers in a way.
Well, we're getting close to the end. I want, if you could give advice to people that are looking at community, whether it's online or even in person, what kind of advice would you give them about when it comes to a healthy version of all of this?
Yeah, I think I kind of hate this because it's so cheesy. But it was kind of going back to what I was saying about working on, at least for the last 4 months since I've done this full time, is like being authentic and being yourself. Because, and I know it is so scary and it is very hard these days to be vulnerable and open yourself up that way, because you're opening yourself up to getting hurt because people see who you really are. But on the flip side of that is you're opening up yourself to really genuine connections and a community that's actually authentic to you and who you are and who you can support back. So my cheesy, like, be yourself. And sometimes I feel like that's a lot about like self-discovery and discovering who you are as well.
It's not wrong, because when you're talking, especially online, it's really easy to not be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really easy to not be yourself. And just look at when, you know, for everyone listening and watching, go on, be your authentic self. And then you might meet an awesome person like Jessie and get to hang out and talk about what's going on in the world. Yeah. You never know. And you won't know unless you try. And in the end, if I wasn't being my authentic, weird self, and honestly, I think not that we didn't know each other before, but I think for me, probably it was you coming on to my Parkinson's stream that brought it up, because you knew me by name only. And it wasn't until that you actually saw a stream that I was in, which actually put a face to the name and all that other stuff. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, it's nice that you and your profile have like your picture.
Yeah.
So I've seen it, but that was probably the first. I'm so glad that I just like happened to catch it.
I'm so glad that I happened to put in your Discord that I was doing it.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, I got it. I was like, that's awesome. And I always am like, you know, that's why I have on my channels, I like want people to post what they're doing too, because sometimes you just don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm all about sharing, you know, creative practices with each other. I think that's kind of the cool part about being human. We're all creative, even if you can't paint or draw or sing or whatever. I think people give themselves the short end of the stick a lot of times, saying that they're not creative. But
so in the grand scheme, everyone, understand that whether online or face-to-face, none of this is straightforward. Everyone's a different person. Everyone's a different kind of person. And we're all just trying to get through this life the best that we can. So as much as we need to hold each other accountable for things, we also need to find ways to give people grace depending on the situations. Jessie, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This has been, we've known each other, but it was really cool to sit down and talk with you like for a decent amount of time without having to, you know, also squeeze in you dying to sunflowers and stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Nat and Mike, I guess, now that I'm calling you Mike, but I really appreciate it. And I had so much fun.
Where can everyone find you? So if anyone wants to check you out.
Yeah, if they actually want to join the Twitch stream, it's just twitch.tv/Jessieology, and that's JESSIE ology OLOGY. And you can find me at Jessieology pretty much everywhere on Instagram. I don't have a TikTok, so
that's fine. we'll I mean, it might not be around much longer. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. So.
You're also on YouTube. You're also starting to post stuff on YouTube. And we'll make sure we put all of those links in the description below. Again, thank you so much for having me. To everyone listening, thank you. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening and being a part of this. Again, we're trying to form like a coalition here of people that are just trying to figure out how to make it through life together, because none of us have all the answers. None of us will agree on everything. As long as we believe in the same fundamentals, we can get to where we need to go. So thank you. Anyone, like, subscribe, do all the things that help this channel grow into something that can reach more people. There'll be the links to everywhere, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, we're just everywhere. Substack. I'm just throwing stuff all over the place, just like a normal content creator. Thank you, everyone who hung out. Again, follow, like, be good, get out, touch some grass, do something that makes you happy. I'll see you next time on a More Perfect Podcast. Bye, guys.